What happened in episode 1 of The Rings of Power? Let's break it down in detail. Hi everyone, this is Alen. Welcome to Alen Recaps. On this channel, we will be covering The Rings of Power, deep dives into Tolkien's Legendarium and much more. If you like that type of content, please click the subscribe button in the bottom right of your screen and the bell icon to get instant notifications. The season opens in flashback told by Galadriel. As the Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings films did indeed, it's clear that she will be our main entry point to this world. We see her as a child in Valinor, the Undying Lands. That's where all the elves are heading for when they sail west from Middle-earth, much later home. And we meet her brother Finrod, who dies before the flashback is over, but gives her a reason for the personal grudge he has against Sauron, that we see playing out in this episode. He killed Finrod. Now I should say up front that hardcore Tolkien fans will be able to see the gaps and changes to Tolkien's history, introduced into this intro segment, the result no doubt of the showrunners not having the rights to use the Silmarillion in the production of this show, just the appendices to the Lord of the Rings. The key takeaway point here is that Morgoth, the original and biggest baddie in Tolkien's Legendarium, has been defeated, and his army scattered 1,000 years before the show proper starts. Some remnants of that army do remain hidden and in the far corners of the earth, some orcs of Balrog that we later meet in Moria in The Lord of the Rings, and most importantly Sauron himself, who had been Morgoth's right-hand man, and is now the de facto leader of evil in Middle-earth. If only they could find him. He's now been missing for centuries. For most those centuries have been a time of peace, but Galadriel is still searching for Sauron. The main story kicks in with her hunting with a small band of elves in the Foredraith in the far north of Middle-earth. They find an ancient fortress and a symbol apparently left by Sauron. It's the same one that marked Finrod, Galadriel's brother's body, that no one can figure out what it means. Expect us to find out exactly what it does mean later in the season. Also take note of the line that this place is so evil that our torches give off no warmth. I'll come back to that again next time, because I think it is important. But after discovering some evidence of dark sorcery and dispatching a snow troll, there's a disagreement. Galadriel wants to go on further north, keep searching. Her troops do not, so they go south back to Lindon, where the High King Gil-galad is, as well as Elrond, a much younger version than the one we saw in The Lord of the Rings. Here he's Gil-galad's right-hand man. It quickly becomes clear that although Galadriel acceded to her troops' wishes and headed back there, and that she's pleased to see her friend again, her real reason is to get a new company, and continue the search further north. To do that she will need Gil-galad's authorization, but Gil-galad has another idea. He instead rewards her for her hard work, and books her onto a ship heading west to Valinor. She doesn't want to, as she thinks she has unfinished business in Middle-earth. But then Elrond also tries his hand at persuading her and succeeds, thanks to a commitment that he will personally take up the fight in her stead if her fears are proven true. We obviously know a bit of what is to come, so Gil-galad and Elrond's actions here don't come across as particularly wise or far-sighted, but Gil-galad gives his reasoning to Elrond that he foresaw that, if Galadriel had kept up her search, she might have inadvertently kept alive the evil she sought to destroy, so it was right to send her off to Valinor. I suspect that the irony here will be that Gil-galad's attempts to stop Galadriel from inadvertently keeping alive the evil she sought will actually inadvertently cause her to do just that. If he hadn't sent her off on that boat, she would never have jumped into the sea, never been rescued ever. Well, we'll find that out later in the season. If she carried on hunting further and further north, she may well have missed out on a lot of the action to come. Gil-galad continues his politicking by setting up Elrond to help Celebrimbo, the legendary elven smith and grandson of Fëanor, the even more legendary elven smith, on a new project of singular importance. We're told those familiar with the Silver Alien will know that this also doesn't necessarily speak well of Gil-galad's foresight, nor does his pronouncement that our days of war are over today, our days of peace begin. Overall, not a strong start by Gil-galad. Let's hope he ups his game in later episodes. Over in Rhovanion, that bit of the map, east of the Anduin River, and north of what we will later call Mordor, we meet the Harfords. These are sort of proto-hobbits living an itinerant seasonal lifestyle. All seems happy and well, but it's clear the elders are concerned by what look like omens, things not right in the natural order of the world. Big people traveling a bit too early in the season because there's nothing for them to hunt. wolves in every thicket and the skies are strange. Nori wonders if there might be trouble down south. So what is happening to the south? There we find an all-new set of characters, and an area Tolkien didn't write huge amounts about during this period. But what we know from the books is that the humans in this area largely supported Morgoth during the First Age Wars, and that this was where Gil-galad first saw the growing threat of a new shadow, and partway through the Second Age Sauron settled in here, fortified Mordor and built Barad-dûr. But that's all. Presumably in the future for the show the elves seem to be keeping an eye on this area with a watchtower, and a detachment of elf sentries doing the rounds of the area. They're looking for signs that evil may be resurfacing in Tolkien's world. This isn't just about spotting bad guys, evil infects the land, so even mysterious areas of rotten grass might be a cause for suspicion. The elves don't seem to be actively ruling the area, but they are clearly a light presence in their being. There is a constant reminder that the elves think the Southlanders are potentially corruptible. Even a millennium after Morgoth's downfall, it all makes for an insidious atmosphere. The passing reference to one day our true king will return is also something to keep an eye out for in the future. Anyway, Adamdir, one of the elves, does the rounds with his partner, and he clearly is in the early stages of a romantic connection with Bronwyn, the herbalist, the kind of relationship both elves and humans frown upon. Not that it seems to have much of a hope, because Gil-galad's edict that a time of peace has begun means that the elves are leaving the area out on. Deer goes to Bronwyn to say, well, we don't get to hear what he was about to say, but they are interrupted by another of those mysterious omens, a seriously unwell cow giving the worst sort of milk I've ever seen. It has been grazing to the east where that poisoned grass was a rander, and Bronwyn go to investigate, and discover the village of Jordan burned to the ground. Things are clearly not right in the Southlands, just as the elves are withdrawing. Meanwhile, Theo, Bronwyn's son, we don't know about Theo's father other than that he allegedly ran off, discovers an ancient black broken blade with Sauron's mark on it. This can't bode well, so a time of peace has been announced to the elves withdraw from keeping an eye over the furthest parts of Middle-earth. And Galadriel, the only person in a leadership position who seems to be taking the threat of evil seriously, is sent away, all while the signs and importance of returning evil grow stronger. We end the episode as we started it with Galadriel. She is on a ship heading to the west, home to Valinor. The echoes of that paper ship she made in the opening flashback are clear and deliberate, and it all seems blissful. The light, the birds, the singing juxtaposed. To this we see a comet, a red meteor, crashing down to Middle-earth. Nori goes to investigate to find a man lying there in the fiery pit. I'll talk more about who he might be in my breakdown for episode 2, but for now, we should just dwell on the leaf that falls to the ground in Lindon as the meteor passes. It is turned to black, seemingly corrupted. This does not bode well back on that ship just as they are approaching the entry to Valinor itself. Galadriel decides to jump into the water rather than take her place in Valinor. She doesn't seem to have much of a plan. She's a very, very long swim from dry land, but follows her instincts, remembering her brother's words, and makes her choice. She isn't yet ready to give up the fight in Middle-earth. But what did I miss, and what did you think of the episode? Let me know in the comments below. I'll be covering the Rings of Power in full with episode recaps, deep dives into Tolkien's Legendarium, and much more. Please click on the subscribe button on the right of your screen if you'd like to see more of that, and the bell icon, and if you want more Rings of Power videos from me. That's all for this time. Thanks for watching. See you again soon.